Hello, this is Connor Super Goofy. Welcome to a review of Senpal's new album, Overlooked. Now, I'm recording this in a hotel room, not my house, so sorry if my audio sounds a little bit different from normal. I just figured now, because I'm alone in a hotel room, that it would be a good time to record this review because I think this album deserves it, quite honestly. And I would like to mention that going into this album, I was feeling a little bit pessimistic about whether I would enjoy it. I wasn't quite sure I was going to be all that into it because, like, in the album cycle, a lot of the singles leading up to the release of the album really underwhelmed me. I wasn't a huge fan of Switchblade on first listen. I wasn't a fan of Magnet. I wasn't a fan of You Don't Belong. But there was one single in this album cycle that stood out, and that was The Thrills. The Thrills was just an extremely high energy, kind of weird sounding, disorienting jam that really just blew me away on the first listen. And so I was going into this album, I was like, well, this song's gonna help the album, that song's gonna help the album, but I'm not sure about the rest of the track list. And then I listened to it for the first time, and it's sort of a similar situation to the album I just released with Nervink's Life After Graduation, where the songs don't necessarily work the best individually, but work really well when you throw them onto this track list. And So we'll start with obviously the opening track, Alone, which is a really good opener. I take back what I said about the That's Me remix to open up Life After Graduation. That's not the best opening track, but Alone certainly is. It immediately sets the tone for the album, and it's honestly it would honestly be a Connor's Hot List single. It probably still will be, but it would be a surefire Connor's Hot List single if it was longer. It's only 1 minute and 24 seconds, as you can see here. If it had gone on for just a little bit longer, I feel like it would have had more time to, really send me away. But then we have the track Switchblade, which I didn't like when I first heard it, but hearing it in the context of the album really gave it some new life for me. And there are quite a few parts of this track that I do actually really like. Then it transitions into the track Magnet, which Switchblade and Magnet I kind of paired together in my head because they were the first two singles of the album cycle. But Magnet, I think, has a really cool kind of, has a good beat. It's kind of a more left field. Like, I would struggle putting Senpal into a genre, is something that I can say confidently. Like, it's not really rap. It's very high auto-tune, way too high auto-tune to really be, and like way too high pitched to really be a melodic rap. It's, I guess the closest thing I could put to it is R&B, but it's not even really that either, because it's just, the way he does things is so different. And if you are a fan of like more normal sounding, like if you are only used to what's on the radio, I can imagine that it would be really, really hard to enjoy this guy's music, because he just makes music that sounds so much different. And it's not me trying to be a downer or anything, it's just the truth. And of course, Magnet has a really weird kind of trippy beat to it. And it's just, it's definitely another song that, putting it in the context of the album, adds so much to it. And probably the best part about this song is how seamlessly it transitions into the thrills, which is definitely the biggest highlight on the album. I gave it a 9 out of 10 on first listen. It's that rating still holds strong. But unfortunately, after the thrills, I think the album kind of dips down a little bit. The track "You Don't Belong" is personally my least favorite on the album. The beat is just a standard, mostly standard trap beat with not really much color behind it, and I just don't think the really high melodic auto-tune on Senpal's voice really works well with a pretty colorless beat, and that makes it my least favorite track on the album. Then the track "Art of Expecting" is the beat kind of sounds similar, but except the drums are all reversed, which is something I found interesting. One of my favorite parts about the TBO George verse on the thrills is that the drums backing that are also reversed, but I think the thrills does it much better than Art of Expecting does. Also, the subject matter is suicide, which I think Stray does that subject matter a lot more justice on his song Dead to Life. A lot of you are not going to know what I'm talking about, but But then, fortunately, I think the track list picks back up again when we get to Airplane, which was the first song I heard of Senpal's. If you don't know the origin story of how I discovered him, well, he's basically another viewer of Big Soap's channel. That's basically how I discovered him, and Airplane was the first song of his that I heard. Immediately, it took a little bit for it to grow on me, but then once it grew on me, and it was right before winter finals in 2020, at the very end of 2024, when this song peaked at number 1 on Connor's Hot List. It's still a really good song, and it's another song that I think putting it in the context of the album adds a lot. Then there's the track "Exposure" with Smoker, which I think is a good song. Wasn't really that huge on it as a single. It did kind of grow on me a little bit while the album cycle was kind of going, but I do think it's 4 different beats that I feel would have done much better if they were put as split into 4 different songs. Of course, it wouldn't necessarily work because 3 of them would be less than a minute. The 4th beat is the beat that goes on for the longest, but I think it drags on a little bit long, but I still like it. It's still a decent cut on the album. Then there's Who's Laughing Now featuring Crimson and TBO George. And one of the things that I feel makes the album flow really well is that the end of each beat sounds so much like the beginning of the next. And for example, Alone into Switchblade, or Switchblade into Magnet, and Exposure into Who's Laughing Now, that I think the beat transitions just are really seamless on here. And Who's Laughing Now is probably another one of the weaker tracks on this track list. Don't think it necessarily adds that much to the album. It's a less than 2 minute song, but there's two other guys on there, and they take up most of the runtime. So it doesn't really, I just don't think it adds very much. But then there's a closer, Kinda Stupid, which I think is a really, really good closer. I think it's a very downbeat, very melancholy, and it's just a song that I really, really like as well. And I didn't think I was going to like the album that much, and it ended up being kind of the album that I listened to on the drive here to Ohio, which is where I'm recording this. So yeah, I think this is one of the better albums I'm gonna hear this year. I think it's like a light to decent 8.